So the good thing about college football, you get a chance to get right back at it, whether you feel like it or not. But our team came over last night and spent some time together, and spirits were good by the time they left the facility last night. And looking forward to get back out and getting work tomorrow. It's a good football team we're playing, a team that's played considerably different, in my opinion, over the last 3 or 4 weeks. I don't think I need to give any statistics on what their capabilities are on offense with the quarterback and the receiver, which to me looks like a first-round draft pick, and the 2 running backs that have really changed their offense, in my opinion, this year, with them being so balanced. So this will be a great challenge for our team. We'll have to be prepared to score some points. Defensively, we'll have to tackle better than we did in the last game and try to slow them down some. So, kind of as the saying's going now, it's another week in the Big 12. Should be an exciting game, and looking forward to a week of preparation and traveling down to playing Saturday morning in Waco.
You spent a year in Baylor, and times weren't as good for Baylor back then. Did you get the idea then that it might be tough to win there? And what's your respect level for Art Briles now that he's got it going pretty good?
I think that Art's done a great job. He's an experienced coach. He's come up through the ranks. He's respected in high school and worked his way up, and has done a great job with that program. Interesting though, when I was there, they were actually doing pretty well. It's one of those situations where we had a tough year, and we really had a big hit on injuries, and they wiped us out. I can't remember. I want to say, that was 1996, and you guys will know better than me. It was 10 years until they had a winning season after that.
94 was the last bowl before.
Right, but when they let our staff go, it was 96.
Okay.
And then they had 3 coaches in between Coach Briles. And I want to say it was over 10 years before they had another winning season, I think. I'm not for sure. But he's done a good job there. And they got good skill players on offense. They've had them over a number of years. They had 2 guys last year that were really, really good, as we all know. So it's a challenge for everybody in this league to try to slow those guys down each week.
Mike, you guys have had to, since you've been here, you've had some devastating losses, a few that were so close, and Texas, a couple other things. But it would seem this might be even a little more difficult. Is that the challenge this week, trying to get past and move on down the road like you have in the past?
I don't think there's any question it's a challenge for us to make sure as coaches and players that we recover, and it starts with us. And I'm not even scared to say that that's the first thing we discussed in our staff meeting yesterday, was that we have to get over it first, and then we have to make sure that the players understand, which they do. This is a mature group. We've been in enough games that if we don't practice well tomorrow, it takes about 30% of our chance away from winning on Saturday. There's just not really any option. And I felt good about the team when they left the building late last night, and I think they'll come back and have energy and practice well tomorrow.
Sean Lewis called you a player's coach and said, based on how the day Sunday, he said, Sunday we kind of laughed as a family. We kind of tried to get our minds straight. And he said Coach Gundy thinks about his players before he thinks about himself.
Well, I would agree with that part, because I don't really spend much time thinking about myself. I'm not afraid to admit that either. My first concern is the young men that we asked to come here and pay a price for us for 5 seasons. I think it's important that we do everything we can to make their stay here the best possible. And last night was a little different for us. We had comedy hour and we didn't practice, and they needed it, in my opinion. It could be wrong. Some people say, including one of my own kids, said, you just lost, why are you not practicing? And gave me certain things that we needed to practice on. And I agreed with everything he said. and then said you need to go do your chores and go out and do your hitting. But for the most part, they needed a little bit of a break, so we let them spend an hour and a half together watching comedians. And before it was over, they were all laughing, and we got back into our meetings and finished up and sent them home for the night.
Mike, how did you get over it?
You know, it's interesting. First thing is, and I'll say it, I've said it many times, I never get over them. Okay, I'm going to wake up 3 years from now talking about or thinking about this game. Just like I do the Holiday Bowl, and just like I did the Cotton Bowl, and just like the Texas game from this year. And so that never really goes away. But for me personally, after the Kansas State game, I was really disappointed because we played so poorly. After this game, I was disappointed because the players couldn't enjoy that winning feeling in the locker room, but not disappointed with what happened during the game. Do I want to tackle better? Yes. Do I wish we'd have hit a couple of those deep throws? Yes. Do I wish we could have prevented the punt return? Yes. Do I wish we would have not onsided and bounced right to them and they got it on the 50? Yes. But the flip side of that is they have some yeses on their team just like we do. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they prepared well, they played hard, gave good effort. In the overtime, our guys got tired. They knocked us down, ran over us, and scored. They made the last play. That's what it comes down to. So before I was even home in the bus, I was okay with that. Don't accept it, don't like it, but I have to be okay with it. That's the only choice that I have.
Baylor's offense so effective the last few weeks. They've really increased in scoring.
Well, they've been effective all year. They're averaging, I don't know how many points, 45 points. And prior to conference play, they were averaging, I think, 50-something. So they've been really effective. You know, you're talking about a team that's they're throwing for like 360. They're rushing for like 230. And they're averaging 45 points a game. So our plan is to try to slow them down some. I don't know that anybody has been able to stop them. They played, I think, TCU, and they turned the ball over 6 times in that game, and they didn't score as many points. But other than that, it's been a track meet. So our players need to have a great week of preparation and have a good week of practice in order to try to slow them down.
Mike, 2 weeks ago, one of the teams down at the bottom of the league standings beat the number 1 team in the country. You got 9 teams going to bowl games. This league would appear to be every bit as balanced and as good as we thought it might be in August. I mean, is that what you see also, that pretty much everyone except Kansas is pretty damn hard to beat?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting you bring it up because the national, when I do the national radio shows in the morning on Monday, the questions are similar. And their perspective is different than ours because we're here. We're in this region. We see it all the time. And there's comments that come out about the SEC and the Big 12 now with the emergence of well, not really the emergence, but with Ohio State being undefeated. They've been pretty good for a few years anyway. But for the most part, the questions come out about the strength in the leagues. And in my opinion, you have the SEC that's got however many teams in the top 10 in the country, which is very impressive. And then there's some fall off between those other teams in somebody's opinion. In this league, you've got a couple that are way up there, and then you have the rest of the pack for the most part that we'll find out during bowl season if the offenses are as good as what people say they are. And so I'm excited about that part of it, to find out, one, if we're really good on offense in this league, which I think we are because I watch it, or if we're not really good on offense in this league and we got a long ways to go to catch up. And it makes for a great discussion. But in my opinion, it's more difficult to go through it because you don't ever have a week where if you don't play well, and even Kansas, you brought up Kansas. Kansas played us to the last play. They played Texas Tech to the last play. They've been in games. TCU, I think, beat them 20-6, and they scored at the end of the game. So it's been a good ride. But you know, John, you've said in these press conferences, we've had discussions now for 4 or 5 years, and one thing that I said is the offenses in this league and the quarterback play and the spread system is going to create parity to where everybody's going to be excited about it but the coaches. And I'm not right on many comments, but that one I have been is it's fallen in place, and it's making great for TV and making great for the fans.
Do you find there's much difference between, say, Baylor and Kansas State? I mean, Baylor, who you're playing this week, Kansas State and Oklahoma are at the top of the league. I mean, doesn't appear to be a whole lot of separation between those teams.
Again, I don't know how popular this will be, but I think right now Oklahoma, with what they're doing on offense right now, and they still have skill enough on defense to run and make plays, that they're a different team now than they were a month ago. That's just my opinion. Those receivers that we played against Saturday were difficult for us because they had really physical, quality guys across the board, and then you had to try to stop the run. So they're really playing well right now. I think there's a group of other teams that are in there that have skill in certain areas, can run in certain areas, have deficiencies in certain areas, and that there's coaching that's overcoming that, in my opinion. And I'm not speaking about myself, but when I was laying in bed the other night thinking, there's some really good coaches in this league. And there's a lot of coaching that goes, talk that goes on national telecast and certain things that talk about coaches across the country. But there's some guys in this league that are good football coaches. And so it's making it more difficult each week because we have to sit down and try to find an advantage. Todd has to find an advantage on offense, Bill on defense, and then Ty and myself on special teams. And when you look across the board, I look at offense, I look at defense, and I break down all the special teams. And you try to find weaknesses and holes, places you get an advantage. And over the last few years in this league, it's done this. There's not many deficiencies because the coaches are pretty good in this league, and that's contributing to more 7 and 8 win teams compared to the the 11 and 12 win teams.
A week from yesterday, so next Sunday, the bowl pairings will shake out and be announced. You mentioned you don't politic, but just the phone calls I've made, I've heard Alamo Bowl, which would be versus the Pac-12 championship game loser. Could be Stanford again, UCLA. And then I've heard the Cotton Bowl, legitimately, with maybe an A&M or an LSU in there. When you start thinking and about what your possibilities are, and I'm not saying you'll say it publicly, do you have a wish list in your mind? I'd like to play those guys.
Oh, I think that there's always games that are fun for us in bowl game preparation. I have not ever looked at it and only know about it because the discussion grows as the season draws near, toward the end, I should say. And people like yourself bring it up, and so they talk about really the 3 bowls that we could be in. A bowl game is a reward for a team's hard work for a year, and their families and the coaches and their families. And they're saying Dallas or San Antonio or Phoenix, really. You can't go wrong. I've been been lucky enough to coach in all 3 bowls, and you can't go wrong. We would like to win the last game, and then wherever they send us, and we'll be excited about that, and we'll support it. Past that, I think it's for me as a coach, it's kind of a waste of oxygen because they're all great opportunities for us, and they're bowls that do a great job.
You can do it when you're lying in bed thinking.
Well, I've increased my sleeping pill dosage, and so it's only about I've timed it. It's like 16 minutes until I don't remember anything else. So my wife's like, "Really? You actually timed that?" And I said, "Yes, I need to know."